I was looking at the population statistics going forward, because the United Nations and the World Bank have already made the projections up to 2100. And because they are easy to make, by the way. So the world goes from 7.4 billion to 11.2 billion. Africa from 1.1 billion to 4.4 billion, big jump. Asia, much less, 4.4 to 4.8, almost 9. Europe is the only region that goes down from 738 million to 646. And Latin America and the Caribbean goes up a little bit, about 80 million only. And Australia is from 39, big jump to 71 million. But the issue is, I was looking by country. Nigeria will be, in the year 2100, more than 700 million. Only Nigeria. Only Nigeria. Europe will be 646, more than Europe, and much more than the EU, because the EU is aging much faster than the other countries of Europe, the European Union. So, I mean, this, as you were mentioning, Africa is going to need, is exploding. So it needs to find places to migrate, you know, and Europe is the most important and the closest. I would like to know your comments about this.
I agree. I mean, it's irrefutable. That's the issue that we have. It's been expressed very fully and clearly by Guillermo. And it's an irrefutable dynamic which requires us to accept that cosmopolitanism, integration, and multicultural societies are going to be a reality. Now, that's very difficult. If somebody runs out onto a football pitch in a green jersey, my immediate reaction is to cheer for them. Well, that's your national sense is very real, and I have it, and you have it, or from whatever one of the 128 countries you come from, we all have it. But we have to, in some way, learn how to grapple with it and have societies where equality really works. And religion, of course, has been historically an exacerbating factor in this. Nationality is one thing. When you mix nationality with a different religion, as in the case of Islam, you have a particularly difficult and potent mix. We've had centuries of wars between Protestants and Catholics in Europe, and now the Shia and the Sunni are at, but I won't go on. It's clear. It's clearly a problem which requires a new dimension in terms of living together and creating cosmopolitan societies.
You know, another story that is very important is that in Europe, in 1919, we established the system of pension funds and so on and so forth. Then, and the age of retirement, 65. At 65. Then, today, more than 70 years later, the age of retirement in Europe is 65, when In 1919, life expectancy at birth was 33 years. Now is almost 80 years in Europe. In Spain, that even the life expectancy is even higher, is more than 80 years. And we still have the retirement age at 65. So, I mean, all the pension systems in Europe will go broke unless something, you extend the age of retirement and or increase the new population. I would like to know your views on that, because it's really amazing what is going on. You and I, no, you and I are not going to be witness of that, but I mean.
Well, it's clear that it's up to you. More children, please.
Yes.
And countries are going to have to alter. Those particularly challenged are going to have to extend working lives, there's no doubt about that, if they're going to remain viable economically. But I think even more important is to increase the population, and migration is a positive way of doing it.
Yes.
If you put the effort into integrating, which means money. It costs money to set up systems that work in integration. You can't just throw people into a suburb of Madrid and say, good luck, you're now in a dynamic environment, find your own way. It takes a lot more than that.
I don't know if I would take how long with how many minutes we have left? 5 minutes. Why don't we take a question from the audience? If somebody would like to raise over there.
Hi. Sir, thank you very much for coming here and sharing what you did. It was not only enlightening, but it also makes us think. Pause and think. I have a question. I am an Indian living in Germany for almost 5 years, and I myself am an immigrant there. And I have lived through the recent refugee crises that are going on. In a recent discussion with a German colleague who was very open about how she felt about the refugees coming into Germany, she was not in favor of it. I asked her, what is it that makes you so averse to having refugees around you, having them as a part of your society? And she said that the fact that they don't share the same value system as us. I asked her, can you define what this value system is? And I did not find an answer. Well, let's say I did not find an answer that I could really absorb. In your research, in all this work that you have done all your life, can you try and explain to me what exactly do they mean when they talk about value system?
Well, I think that that's really an excellent question, because there is a proprietorial attitude to values, I'm sure in every continent, but certainly in Europe, we think in some way that we are the font of the values of equality and dignity that I mentioned earlier. Buddhism, in many ways, is entirely based on the same concept. Many aspects of Hinduism are the same. But let me say this, that there are aspects of societies which are different and they have to accommodate, if they come to a country other than their own, to our values. Let me take one, the equality of the sexes. There's no point in trying to duck that issue. If we talk about equality of man and woman, which to my mind is a value which it took us a hell of a long time to recognize ourselves, But we do recognize it now, and that is something that has to be accepted. So does the independent, for an example, the independent right of individuals to decide who they wish to spend their lives with. There are a whole series of values which I think are part and parcel of our legal system, as well as our sense of the dignity of the human person. And I think that this is a two-way street. When I talk about integration, I talk about it from the point of view of our making, we, the indigenous population, making an effort. But you also have to say that the incoming communities have to recognize that going to their church at weekends and living in an enclave which is entirely introverted is a failure also to integrate. And the only way I can think of dealing with this is through education and all the sort of truisms that one can use about integration. But the value of the question you asked is fundamental to this, and it requires effort on both sides. I think people are beginning to think about it, particularly in Germany, funnily enough. There are, because of the trauma, and it's true also in Sweden, I'm sure elsewhere as well, that people are thinking of their own educational systems and making them adapt to see integration as part of their rationale.
Well, I think we need to stick to the time, otherwise we could be a long time discussing these issues that are extremely important for the future. But thanks again, Peter. You were great to come to Madrid and to address all of us, and you deserve a big applause.
Thank you very much.